Okay, guys, we're online now. Heard you need.
Okay, I'd like to welcome you to the Hamlin Conservation Advisory Board meeting for Monday, June 23rd. The fire exits are on either end of the hallway out here. He is present across the hall if there's any need. If anybody has a cell phone or pagers, please turn them off or put them on vibrate so you are not interrupted. Cheryl, could you call the roll, please?
Rob Westcott,
Here.
Janine Fox,
Here.
Mary Whipple,
Here.
Scott Martin,
Here.
I don't think we can approve the May 27th meeting, at least not at this time. I understand when the chairperson, Seacroft, was on the way, and when he gets here, perhaps we can do that. But we did not, am I correct? We did not approve the April
Correct.
meeting minutes.
Correct.
So,
I can make a motion.
I'll second.
Cheryl, call the roll.
Rob Westcott,
Yes.
Janine Fox,
Yes.
Mary Whipple,
Yes.
Scott Martin. Oh,
I can't vote on that, right?
Correct.
We have to,
thank you for reminding me.
okay, so I'm just gonna make a note that we still have to approve these. Okay, I'm going to go right into the reports. As I said, I'll turn it over to Steve, he's able to get there. I did the planning board meeting on June 2nd, but I was absent
Vicky's here.
last.
I heard the number.
I was absent last month, so,
Sorry. Has been had a doctor's appointment.
That's
Hello,
it,
girl,
ladies.
yeah, have a seat, girls.
I got through the introduction and I was just about ready to start the reports.
What's that?
But now that you're here, we can approve the May 27th meeting
Okay.
minutes. Do you want me to go ahead and do that till you get settled?
Yeah.
We do have a quorum now to approve the May meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Make a motion?
Second.
Cheryl, want to call the roll?
Rob Westcott,
Yes.
Janine Fox,
Abstain.
Steve Rutherford,
Yes.
Mary Whipple,
Abstain.
Scott Martin.
Yes.
Shall I go right into my planning board report?
Yes, please.
Okay, now I was not here for the May meeting. Would you like me to do the planning board minutes for May or just, I have both May and June. So you can
Do,
just do
Just
the June
yeah.
minutes. Monday, June 2nd, planning board minutes. There were no public hearings on June 2nd. A couple items on the agenda. The first was a subdivision of a parcel on 3283 Roosevelt Highway. Dan Wensick, the owner, was seeking a property split to create two lots. It's in the RM zoning district. It's proposed to build 2 acres of the existing parcel at the road to make 2 separate parcels. At this point, we come to the board and they did schedule them for a public hearing on July 6th. Also on the agenda was a special use permit for Andrew Walsh. He is seeking a special use permit to operate a masonry and roofing business named Moosehead Masonry LLC. This is located at 1730 Road in the RVL zoning district. I have not looked at the property at this point, but the town engineer and the attorney stated that it appears that there's no use that is similar in nature to others for the RVO zone. So there's a lot of discussion about what he's doing and whether he's going to build anything and so on. he was gonna put up a building, and he said he would put up a fence to hide the equipment as material. One of the board members said that maybe he would need to get in touch with the DEC, because there might be this type of business in the history of rock crushing. So we thought maybe there might be asbestos, groundwater issues, they weren't sure, but in any case, the fact that this doesn't appear to be an allowable use in the RDL, the motion was made and seconded and approved to make an application to the zoning board to see if we can get a use variance. Stands at this point. The other was the Meg subdivision. This is on the corner of Morton Road and Redmond Road. The address is 38 Morton and 947 and 971 Redmond Road. And I believe it's Joe Brightwood lives in that area, and he's planning on retaining the part of their land that is tillable soil, and he would sell the woods in the creek to Michael Mitchell. It does, that part does contain federal wetlands, but no dwelling is proposed at this time. It's just that's going to be used to produce soil crops. So since there were no issues as far as any building or anything happening near the Nancy Creek or the wetlands, I didn't have any issues with it. Insurance. She all had no issues. But this all still had to be scheduled for a public hearing on July 7th. Motion goes up to that point. Things that in other boards, it's been pretty quiet. So that is the June 2nd.
Thank you very much. At the Fish Advisory Board meeting, there was discussion about stocking, of course, and especially around the Coit Creek. The proposal is that there will be no more brown trout stocking on around Coit Creek, except for special events such as kids fishing derbies and stuff like that. We'll dump a bunch of fish in. There's a lot of people that are opposed to that and want Ron Coit Creek to continue to be stocked. It's a fight between people that want kids to go in and catch fish and people that are diehard fly fishermen that want nothing but wild fish.
Not to butt in, I did get some clarification from the DEC regarding that whole thing.
Well, I was going to turn to you next.
So we have the Lake Ontario Fishery Advisory Panel, and we meet quarterly, and that was one of the topics that came up. Now, the first time that I heard about it, the reason that they said that at least all the buzz was that because there was wild brown trout found on the creek, so they no longer wanted to supplement them with additional brown trout and kind of protect that wild population. The DEC said, no, that's not true. It's true that that happens, but that is not the reason for it. It has to do with the Lake Ontario stocking assessment. And according to the Lake Ontario stocking assessment, they don't stock brown trout and tributaries. Coit Creek falling under that line of being a creek, of their tributary of Lake Ontario, falls in line with that, and they said because of that we had to cut it loose, and it was also in a gray area. We're only allowed to stock so many fish in our agreement with Canada. We were essentially stocking those fish without anybody really knowing it. They weren't really allotted to anything. So they said literally, kind of in a legal regards, we can't do it anymore. So that's what the DEC's, that was Chris Lagarde's thing. But, of course, like I said, the rumors were, oh, Lord, we're stopping stocking because we
Yeah.
have wild fish, and they really created an uproar.
Yes,
So it seems like it's come down a little bit.
yeah. And I'm going to turn to you anyway, because I wasn't invited to the State of the Lake meeting.
Oh,
Didn't know anything about it,
no?
and didn't get an email or anything, and so I wasn't there.
Gotcha.
And so the guys that were talking about it didn't make any sense to me, so if you would enlighten me on what happened with the State of the Lake meeting.
Well, so we don't, so the state no longer, the state used to have, State of the Lake meetings where they would host and discuss Lake Ontario as a whole.
Yeah.
They used to do it kind of regionally, invite the public. RAT used to be the host site, we used
Yeah.
to have it in one of their auditoriums. The current administration said they no longer wanted to continue with that forum.
Right,
And they felt it was very boring, it was very scientific, it just got
Yeah.
scientists that went up on stage and
Yeah.
talked science and just didn't feel like it was engaging. So they went to a different form of things, and now they come to the Lake Ontario Charter Boat
Yeah.
Association meetings, and they do a presentation. There's another group of wreck fishermen on the west end. They go there and do the
Yeah.
same thing, and then there's another recreational group on the east end, and they do the same thing there. The big thing that was discussed was parental tagging, which is them collecting genetic data from all of the Chinook salmon that are stocked in the Ontario. So that was the majority of that conversation. So they just wanted to, they finally had some results. They've been working on it for about 5 years. So they were discussing a lot of that.
now this all DNA,
Yeah.
through DNA,
So the idea is when they collect fish at Salmon River Hatchery,
Yep.
They collect genetic data from the females.
Yep.
And then basically they could pull a fish from the lake and know whether or not that fish was something that was stocked or if it was something that was wild
Okay.
hatch. Because we do have a large wild hatch Chinook salmon fishery.
right?
Canada is also following suit, collecting female data also. So, but that's what majority of that meeting is about. Just
Okay.
kind of introducing everybody to,
And the Ford base is stable now?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't invited, I sure would have liked to have been there.
The public is always welcome. So, I mean,
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's everywhere. So,
Well, they used to let me know,
right.
and even Steve Olson didn't know who was there. It's like, okay. So, well, thank you very much. That was it for the Fish Advisory Board. EMC, the Natural Resource Committee, did meet. One of the things for discussion was what would the town need for their layers for to develop the,
Doesn't everybody have all the same stuff?
not everybody,
Like all the overlays aren't the same?
no,
You could, basically what you're saying is you could put in different requests.
yes,
If the town has a different need or something else.
yeah. Shortly, those of us on the Natural Resource Committee will be licensed to get onto the GIS system, to be able to look at the data. a couple of things that, I suggested that, we would need was, topography was one of them, floodplain, state and federal wetlands, oh, open space.
You need to know ag districts or anything like that.
Pardon?
Do they need to know ag districts?
Well, yeah, agriculture was one of the big things that they're looking at, in terms of runoff and drainage. See, some towns have a big, runoff issue. So, you know, they have an extensive sewer system and all that, and we're kind of out here. Some of them have, lighting issues for their towns. The other big thing was bicycle paths. And, others had,
Right, I can imagine like the town of Greece is a much larger.
yes,
Larger
yes,
layers.
you know, they have big parks, and so they wanted an overlay with all the trails and, said, yeah, we got a trail, it's called 19.
So is this all countywide or is it divided up by towns or?
It's county-wide, and
It seems like each town is gonna be kind of specific to what they're.
yeah, exactly, what's specific to that town. And say we had a developer that wanted to come in and buy a bunch of farmland up and put in housing. And, you know, we can go through up the map and say yay or nay pretty quickly on whether it meets the floodplain, requirements, whether it meets the drainage,
You mentioned
wetlands,
Yeah.
you know, is a big issue. And, you know, and all that, so it can be very, very helpful. And that's what we were doing, was going over each of the layers and, kind of saying yay or nay on what we would have access to.
It's a lot to it.
There is a lot to it. I mean, they've got layers where they were tracking COVID, where COVID more prevalent in, you know, different areas. What areas are more prone to rabies?
Oh,
You know, and, you know, we can,
so it's not just geological data. it's
no, you know, we're,
Social data.
yeah,
It's huge. I was thinking that everyone's, you know, working on their farmland protection plans.
Yeah.
That would probably be, at some point, they have to throw that in. So
yeah,
it's probably gonna be a dynamic thing.
yeah. And so that's kind of what we were looking at. We took the month of July off. We'll be meeting again in, August. But, yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on what we would need, you know, as a town and our part in looking at different properties to meet, different requirements. And if you can think of any layers that we would need and stuff, it's just a matter of me calling Star O'Neill and saying, okay, this is what, an additional requirement that we would need specific to this town. Yeah,
Is this something that can get added at any time? Or do they want to, because like I said, this farmland protection plan is a work in progress.
yeah, that's a work in progress, and we can always go in and ask for more. And, that's, not, right now, it's, what do we think we need right now that would be helpful to us? And, shoreline development, now that we got our sewer system in, that's kind of no longer an issue with all the sewers and stuff. So, like I said, if there's anything that you can think of that we would need as an additional layer on top of what I've already mentioned, please let me know. And, we can make that happen, because when you look at the map, things just seem to pop right out. Granted, we're not too hilly here, but in other places, topography is an issue.
Wondering if it should go out to some of the other boards, like the board, or the planning board, zoning board.
Right.
They can think of, like, just the online conservation board.
Mhm. Right. I could probably draft a letter to the town board for their discussing and the planning board to see if they have any requirements. Yeah. Like I said, when I sit there and look at the map, I'm just overwhelmed with all this data they have. And it's like,
Information overload.
yeah, it is when you first look at it.
But each segment is gonna be of interest to somebody.
Right. Right, so, yeah. But, that was it for that meeting. Robbie, do you have anything from the town board?
I was not present at the last town board meeting, but I will touch on a couple of things.
Okay.
Past couple of meetings, including the June 9th meeting, the town board has been approached by solar companies. A statement has been made that we're living in a moratorium right now
Yeah.
until we get some things figured out. So I thought it was kind of interesting. The past couple of meetings, there's been some companies approaching regarding that stuff.
Yeah, they came to the VFW board too,
Oh, yeah?
trying to get them to, because they own, I don't know, 80 some odd acres.
Oh, yeah, behind there, yeah.
Yeah, and they wanted to see if they could get it in there.
I know people that have been approached in, small little wooded blocks and little spots, that,
And then there's the question, what power station do they tie into?
So they have, so that was part of the discussion that this lady came and spoke. They have, I forgot how much, do you remember how many it was? It's like three units left or whatever, spaces left, megawatts or whatever in this over here, but everything else would go over there. So wouldn't even be any advantage to us.
It would just be a very small,
Yeah,
small parcel. We can want
right, it'd have to be a really small parcel to go into
And
here.
of course, that was mentioned, like, oh, we deal in, smaller
Oh, right,
increments
right.
also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not,
The moratorium,
August,
I'm probably going to renew it for another year.
we'll see what happens, we can only do it for one more year.
I was gonna say, what's the limit?
Yeah, you could do it, you have to do 1 year and then re-up for another year, and then that's pretty much it.
I did see that, local approved some nuclear energy today.
Yeah.
That was a big announcement. So.
Right.
And once the moratorium is up, it's up to the discretion of the town what they approve, or
So there's certain criteria we can have them meet, but other than that,
If it's on the books, it's on the books.
yeah.
Too bad it can't be like the weed shops and we can opt in or opt out.
Yeah.
But
you can only, with those, you can only opt out initially, right? If you opt in, you're in. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they're gonna have to build like another transfer station.
well, right now it goes all the way over to Manitou.
And how much is, so they have capacity for?
What's that?
How much do they have capacity?
I guess that,
They
but that's a
still got-
big,
they
that's a
still
big,
got-
Yeah,
They just,
that one that's on Manito's
Yeah,
big.
they
that's
just
pretty big.
updated that recently.
and I mean, with the requirement for all new buses starting for just next year being electric, there's gonna be a lot of requirement, demand for electrical systems coming.
Yeah.
So Hilton and Kendall are gonna start needing a lot more power, and that's probably gonna be what
I
they're.
think Rockport just voted on that and shut it down.
Yeah, a lot,
For 3
the
new
local
buses.
districts did shut down buses. I think Reese approved one, Gates, Chi-Li shut it down.
It's just, they're so expensive.
They cost 3
Yeah.
times as much as a diesel bus.
Yeah.
And Kendall did a study, it's $11 million to put in the charging stations, and that doesn't include the infrastructure to get enough power out there to run the charging stations for
Right.
their buses.
And what are you going to do in the winter?
They have 2 routes that they can't complete in the summer based on the mileage that the buses can go. And then in the winter, that increases to about 80% of their routes. They can't complete because the capacity of those batteries does deplete.
So means you're gonna increase
More
the
buses,
number of
that's
buses
something they're
and then.
charging,
And drivers.
Right. No.
And the kids have a shorter trip to school.
Right, just make them walk.
All right. Okay.
I can keep going.
Okay.
Lot of discussion on the Hamlin Lakeshore sewer EDU payments. That's been a topic of discussion for the past couple of months. There was a motion to, for approval to propose vacant property at half EDU for Lakeshore Sewer District. So resolution 160 was made, so there's still a lot of talk about that.
Yeah,
So
we have a public hearing next month,
is that when it's gonna, you know the date on that?
July 9th.
Okay. So, and basically what it comes down to is people that live in those districts that maybe have a house that's on the lake and then across the street you have a vacant lot.
Yeah.
And how you get taxed and charged accordingly. So. And that's all I got.
All righty.
So the zoning board, a couple of people didn't show up. Mr. Rutherford got approved for 6 ducks for 5 years. They had to put a 5-year limit on it. We don't want ducks anymore.
I don't like them.
Some of them do, some of them don't. Ducks aren't included in the chickens, zoning board code. It specifically mentions chicken, not poultry or fowl. So the ducks needed a variance to be added to that, which is interesting.
How many acres do you need for that? Do you have variance?
They're
Five
duck,
5 acres?
acres. If you can have dogs, you have to 5 acres.
okay.
And
Just curious to know.
Getting a variance is cheaper than trying to find 5
Fucking
acres.
North Point.
Okay, saw somebody has a turkey.
Did you hear about it?
I think.
A lot of
there's
people are starting
gardens.
farmsteading and that
It's a
roadside
farmhouse.
stands, yeah, they're getting into that. I think part of the homeschooling trend is also farmsteading.
I like it.
Couple of public hearings set, one for a shed that it's under the limit on square footage, but over the limit on the length of a single side. So that's probably not gonna be a problem. And then a builder is looking to remove a boathouse on the lake and replace it with a garage that's shifted more towards the road. So it's going to overlap the boathouse footprint slightly. Obviously, there's a concrete ramp going into the water from the boathouse that he doesn't plan on removing at this time. It will include a septic removal, so that might be a little bit of material that could pose a problem that needs to be removed properly. And they require variances for the front and back to put in this garage. It's gonna be a sizable garage, 24 by 36. I would love to have that garage. So there were two hearings they were set to go to the planning board and then a public hearing at the zoning board in July, and they may or may not make that. That's all that happened this week. People like sheds, they want to put in sheds, maybe the house their house is
Alrighty. We have any friends? Let's see.
We do have some news for the friends. Swimming is now open at the park. It is dependent on water quality conditions, which they monitor each morning. But this week, it's nice that swimming is open, even though the lake is still really cold.
Is there a, website where we can get to see if they're gonna open it for that day, that period? Or how we would know?
I don't know how you would know, other than they would probably be posted at the entrance.
Okay.
You can call the park, and you could probably call it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there is a phone number for the park, and if you didn't want to just drive there, they could probably tell you. Due to the ongoing revitalization / construction that's going on in area one, there will be no fireworks this year.
Oh,
Because area one is the prime place to do it, and there's really no other place that's suitable in keeping everybody safe. There will be a concert on August 2nd from 6 to 9:30 featuring the Blue Sky Band. And there are other activities occurring that afternoon. We're going to have a sandcastle contest, and cornhole, Angela's Exotics, and other items for sale. So that's on August 2nd. I reported it now because our meeting is so late in July that this might, if people look at this, they might not see it before August 2nd. Matthias, who is the grandson of a former World War II German prisoner of war, Heino Fuller, who was housed at Hamlin's POW. The grandson is going to be visiting in August.
oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was at Evans, I believe.
Right.
I don't remember if they actually came to the park for the CCC site, but anyway, it's planned for maybe a visit. I believe Heiner has since passed away, but when they were researching for the CCC and POW camp, he was alive and another POW was alive in Germany, and those two POWs met up with each other and realized they had been at the same camp. And
Right.
and it's kind of a neat experience.
Right.
But even back then, several years ago, they were in their 90s, so I don't believe either one of them is still living. Anyway, that's true.
All right, thank you. We have a motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting.
I like it.
1 second.
Bob Westcott?
Yeah.
Jean Cobb?
Yes.
Steve Rutherford?
Yeah.
Terry Whipple?
Yes.
Scott Martin?
Yes.
All right, so carried. We'll move right along to the Hamlin Waterfront Committee. Portion of the meeting, with the same people present. Were there any referrals?
Yep, I did several inspections. The first one, 6430 Shore Acres Drive. The homeowner wants to add a 20 by 16 deck off the east side of the porch, kind of behind her garage. Right now, she's just got sort of a patio with some
Right.
stonework, and she's just going to build a deck on the area. And she also has a sliding glass door that faces the lake, and then and she wants to just put like a little porch that will stick out about 4 feet, and then steps coming down on that, so that, especially for her grandkids, if they have to
Right.
go out the sliding door, there's a little porch there. So I didn't feel that there was, didn't seem to be. Number 58, Newco Drive, this was an interesting house. Talked to the homeowner who only lived there a short time, but, yeah, it's in the coastal erosion hazard area, so I don't know if it has gotten, we've seen how permit for that. The new half of the house has kind of a solid, stable foundation of block. And then the front half of the house is just on posts, and it's settling away from the back of the house to the point where they think a couple of windows upstairs have broken, and they think it could make the house or something.
Wow, yeah.
So they need to do something, and they've already spoken to somebody who said it's an easy fix. I don't believe that. Probably didn't mean.
Those
anything
contractors
expensive.
are.
Probably didn't mean expensive, but maybe it's just a point of leveling it up and putting some support underneath it. So, I felt that that was consistent. 7514 Sandy Harbor. They want the 2 additions to the dwelling, the small additions, one on the front, one on the back, and there's plenty of space between, distance from the lake. It's not in the coastal erosion hazard area, so any issues with that one as well. And I also did look at a place on Beechwood, and it's just an abandoned home. Looks like it's a building that's, we're planning to demolish it. It's just some kind of within the LWRP, so I haven't looked at it. The only thing I don't know is, I don't know if you could show what they plan to do with the materials after they demolish it.
It would be in a dumpster in the hallway, like the hallway.
So I didn't see any issue with that. There was one other, inspection that I looked at, but I'm not completed it, on Tucker Lane, Bill Swanford outbuilding. They called it an outbuilding, but when I spoke to the homeowner, she said it'd be a 2-car garage. And it's, it could be in a wetland area, so we're still waiting to hear from DEC, so I haven't totally included that inspection. I haven't told you. And that was June.
So rule of thumb, anything that happens within the LWRP building wise still has to come with our approval? I mean, I would think like a repair and a replace of foundation, it's not even permittable, is it?
Yes,
Would
they're
you-
very specific items with the planning and disease.
I just wonder, cause like, would they obviously came to you looking for a building permit for that, and that's how it gets subject to something else?
Most people just contacted me and I sent them like 2.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's only like on the lake shore, if we had different LWRPs, that Jimmy or whoever goes out and looks at. Only really the lake shore ones are the ones,
Or
They have
something adjacent to that.
yes.
Right.
they have an issue.
Gotcha.
And then some of them would need to go to the planning board if they're within 100 feet of Lake Ontario, or if they're within 100 feet of a wetland, then they have to also go to the planning board and get conservation before they develop. And if if during the coastal erosion years ago, then we would get to have its own board. A lot goes on.
But those aren't even decisions that we make, those are predetermined decisions anyways, right? Meaning, Janine does an inspection, she's not the one on the side that goes, hey, this also needs this, this, and this. We already know those prior to, I know, well, I know that she knows her stuff.
Yes,
Right, but-
yes.
But usually when Cheryl gives the inspection, it's written.
She writes it up there,
She writes
right?
it up there because she's already looked into it.
Gotcha. Okay. So you've already raised the red flags, so we know. Okay. Just familiarizing myself with specifics.
Familiarize all of us. All right, do we have anything for discussion?
The lantern fly guy, we never touched on that whole thing over again. From the county.
Did they put up the track?
They did that.
Yeah.
So, to back up a little bit, so a couple of months ago, and fill you in a little bit, so Monroe County has this lantern fly program that they established in all the towns in the county, where they're trying to collect data and figure out if they're invading here. And last year, I thought we were overseeing it, but we weren't. It was actually the county that was doing it. But the county decided that they wanted to get other people involved with the process, which meant they no longer want to do it. They want somebody else to do it for them, is what I realized through the
Did
conversation.
Lewis do it last year?
He might have, yes. He was the one who did the contact. He
Correct.
did a great job.
But the county still did all the checks. But I think he was in contact with them and got some of the information to relay it back to
Yeah,
us.
they're still doing the checks.
So they wanted to find us, they wanted us to do it.
Yeah, but now I think they're,
But I will say that they would not give me any information. I said, well, do you have like a training packet? Like, he's like, oh, it's really easy, it's really easy. I can tell you right now, there's probably not one person in this room that knows what one looks like. So I actually downloaded a picture, so now I know what it is, but you know what I mean? I'm like,
I
We
had
need
wires
some-
in the office.
and he's like, oh, it's really easy. And I'm like, well, there's gotta be a system, like, do you guys
What
have
was
something
the
written
check?
down?
What was the check timeline? Like, it was what, twice a week?
Yeah, something.
Or every 2 weeks?
Yeah, and you needed to take pictures of the things and let them know if it needs to be cleaned and like this, he had like this whole thing, and I'm like, well, we need some more information so we can pass it along to everybody.
So-
They've been,
So the county.
So there's nothing.
Well, I think there's
That's what I
still
figured
really-
kind of what happened.
So I think the county probably doesn't have a lot of urgency.
they have not anything in this
I don't
area,
know.
they actually did find one or two, like in Greece,
Oh, really?
months ago, yeah.
I thought they were still in the southern portion of the state, so they were up with this. Okay.
Not a lot, maybe.
But it's enough.
You're on what, Ridgeway Avenue, somewhere in that area?
Very well, and a lot of little trees up there.
Yeah.
But like in Pennsylvania, they only found 5, and the next year 500, so they go fast.
They mostly threaten grapevines and.
Right.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
poison ivy, that'd be great.
Wasn't it grapevines, and they were concerned at first about like the fruit trees, like apples and peaches, but I don't know if we found any evidence there.
But I just would wonder what had happened because it took them a week and a half to get back to me the first time, a week the second time.
This is for the county.
Yeah, there was no information that was forwarded, and I just kind of went, please just continue forwarding your information to Cheryl and keep us in the loop kind of thing. I'm like, you want us to do all the work, but you're not giving us any directive to do anything.
Right.
There's no idea, like, here's a guide, we can help you to, go off of, and here's the reporting schedule, nothing. So I'm
Got
like,
it.
yeah, right.
Balls and.
That's kind of what I was expecting, but no.
Well, as long as they're checking the trap that they set.
Yes.
It sounds like it's, that's the case scenario.
Do we have a contact person? No, but do you have a contact person with them?
It's the one
Yeah.
man that's one.
We need more information.
Do we know their course of action if we find one? They just say
They
thanks.
take pictures and send it to them.
But like, what is their course of, like,
I think that's,
do they come out and they do something, or?
I don't know if
It's
it's,
probably
if it's a
reporting,
county
I guess.
thing. I wonder if they're directed by the state to do something. Like, I just got back from Toronto, and in Toronto, the Emerald Ash Borer,
Yeah.
they are doing treatments in their city parks. So they had signs up, big signs,
Right.
like making people aware of the, I guess, the project of trying to eliminate them in Toronto. So.
Alrighty, anybody have anything else?
We have the water districts down to 48 out of the 85 now. There was 20 some odd that didn't even report back on whether they were interested in getting water, so.
Did you get information back from the engineer?
Yeah, engineering said, well, you don't want the water. I don't know how many of these are actually gonna end up doing it, because it's so expensive.
What part of the town is it?
It's in different sectors.
There's like
Red-
7 of them?
Yeah, there's 7 districts. There's like Redmond, Brick Schoolhouse, Cook Road, County Line. There's like, depending on, like County Line, they're hooking up with like Clarkson and up that way. So, but it's really, really expensive to get the water. And it's for 30 years.
Oh, really? That's what the payment schedule is?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, I can see the hesitation.
Yeah.
You got a well and it's working, why can't?
Well, some of them have really good wells. Like
Yeah.
my brother-in-law, he lives on Cook, his water's like,
Oh, really?
oh, it's like, cast the jam, it's like, that stuff's awesome.
Yeah, so a big concern with that is, the migrant houses have to be inspected routinely by the state, if they are on well water. So the farmers want to move to public water, that way they get the water reports directly from the county, they don't have to worry about paying for constant inspections of the water. It's tough to get, it's a lot of money, especially with most of that road is all farmland.
Yeah.
Where is all that money coming from?
And, I got my banners for the Hometown Heroes delivered,
I saw the
Friday,
flag that replaced it.
so, huh?
I saw the flag that replaced them here. That made me happy pulling into that.
And then, so, just waiting on Mike, he said sometime this week they'll start
Any
getting them.
banners?
Huh?
Any banners?
I got 10,
Oh, cool.
so,
Very cool.
that was almost $2,000 to get them. The brackets themselves are like $70.
Yeah,
They're no, I don't know how those will ever break, but man, they got steel rods and.
yeah.
Have you seen the wind around here?
Huh?
Have you seen the wind around here?
Yeah, well, that's true. So, I don't know, if you go to
Hopefully they'll be
Batavia,
fine.
Batavia's got the same setup,
Yeah.
and man, they are like gorgeous. But theirs is like 5 feet, and ours is gonna be 4 feet, so it's not gonna be that much
And my face is hanging down in Cal Style.
different. Yeah. That's all I got.
Alrighty, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll make a motion.
A second.
And move the second that we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried. I am so sorry about being late.
All worked out.
Too many things going on.
Enjoy getting the recognition, yes, so. I know
Oh,
it's in my house.
The Hilton Schools decided that they were going to go to a complete half-day schedule.
Some schools just totally canceled completely.
Yeah.
It was like a ghost town because everybody had to stay home with their